Shall we begin?
Football Feast.
Oh, no!
Oh, well.
You're breaking up, Bob. I gotta turn this down, Bob.
Bullseye! Holy Toledo!
PA and Charch.
I'm a kid, so I call it KFAN.
Let's go. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
Roughing the passer.
Hashtag Faith Radio.
Murray, empty backfield, shotgun, back to pass, floats to the right, throws to the end zone, and caught. Touchdown, Arizona Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr. with his 7th touchdown reception this season. It's a 15-yard touchdown, and lo and behold, the Arizona Cardinals have an 18-6 lead. Sam from under center, back to pass. He gets away from sack number 5, rolls out to the left, throws to the left, caught, touchdown, Vikings! It's Johnny Munch with the Vikings' first touchdown today. He has 2 in his career, and make that 3 in his career. 2 have come against Arizona, and it's 19-12 Cards. Cardinals 3 of 8 on 3rd down. This is 3rd and 5 from their own 45. Facing a blitz. Kyler steps up. Now he spins to the left, back to the right. Throws up one of those Kyler Murray punts. Yes, he did it again. Kyler Murray with those awful punt passes. Picked off by his former teammate, Byron Murphy Jr., who has 5 this season. Naylor and Jefferson right, Addison left, Darnold out of the shotgun. 2nd and 2 from the Cardinals 5. Takes the snap, 4-man rush. Sam to the right, caught, and touchdown! He's showtime! And Aaron Jones saved his best for last. We're tied at 22. Murray on 2nd down, hasn't been sacked yet. He dropped the ball, and he falls on it back at the 27. They discombobulated Tyler. 48 seconds to go in the game. Timeout, Arizona. It'll be 3rd and right around 14. 3 receivers left, 1 right. 4th and 10 for Kyler Murray facing a 5-man rush. Kyler back to pass, throws right, intercepted. Shaq has won the game, and it's a high 5 for the Minnesota Vikings. They've won 5 consecutive games. The final score, 23-22, Minnesota. Hey, Savage, what's going on? Welcome to the Friday football. Hey! Your Minnesota Vikings are 10-2. What do you think about that? Buffalo Wild Wings Savage for the Friday football feast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the master mixer of the sound, J-Dub, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause for Jared Wells. Nick Madden's street team is here with Jack and Ellie, and this helmet is in play for the Winter Whiteout game with Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. Eric Nord, all right, 3-2. Nordo guides the great ship Love Covenant at FM 100.3 KFAN, and when we come to Buffalo Wild Wings Savage for PA and Charch, this takes us back to the very first year of football feasting. 2009 is when we began the Friday football feast, and we had. I mean, it's packed in here right now. Give yourselves a round of applause. I mean, you got
standing room only.
You got security next to the bank, making sure nobody parks over at the bank. Can't say I've ever seen that. But the feast we did was in front of the NFC title game, and Adrian Peterson called into the radio show. It was super crowded and Savage. We thank you very much for showing up today, as do the Vikings, KFAN, Miller, and so on. Round of applause, please. Thank you very much. And speaking of the 2009 Minnesota Vikings, somebody who played for that team is with us now, courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka, Spirits, and Bourbon. Ladies and gentlemen, can we get a witness and a raucous round of applause for Chad Greenway? What's up, game changer?
What is up? This place is stacked.
It is.
They are fired up. I wonder if we were 2-10, what this would look like.
Hey, we can do a very small version or a very light version of what U.S. Bank Stadium will be like this weekend. Let's play from the hearts here, okay? Hey, those of you over there, what's going on next to that bar?
Yeah, cheap seats.
Yeah,
Hey, cheap
got 150 people to the left. Can't even see them. Hey, all right, God bless. Pretend it's U.S. Bank Stadium. Pretend it's noon. Pretend the Minnesota Vikings won the coin toss and elected to defer. And here comes the Atlanta Falcons offense, and Alan Roach, the Vox of all Voxes, ever to Vox, says at quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins. What? Wow.
Not what I expected.
Why?
What? Why?
Why?
He's not one of us. That's why. He used to be one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, come on. It's like the ex-girlfriend now. Come on.
I understand.
Love Kirk.
I understand.
Yeah, I was a big Kirk lover. The whole time he was here, loved what he did, but he's not one of us anymore. And when he's done playing for the Falcons or whatever they are down there, whatever they call themselves, right? Then we will.
Pretty sure it's the Falcons.
Then we'll love him again as a former Viking.
Well,
but until now, it's boo. I love it.
Let's try
Good job.
this.
No passive aggressive in here in this Minnesota.
Say he wasn't hurt now for the year, and say, it happened earlier this year. The Houston Texans are in town, and there's a reception on the first possession of the game, and Alan Roach, the Vox of all Voxes, ever to Vox, says, catch by Stephon Diggs. I got one more. Carolina Panthers are in town.
Uh-oh.
We defer.
Uh-oh.
They get the ball.
Uh-oh.
First play, Vox of all Voxes, ever to Vox, Alan Roach. Reception by Adam Thielen.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Got him.
We love Adam Thielen.
Hey, I want to applaud you for your honesty.
Oh, man.
All right, and for playing from your heart.
So Detroit Lakes
Thielen-
wins out.
Oh,
Just being from here.
Well,
I got it. Love it.
The difference, Diggs manufactured a trade out of town. Thielen wanted to finish his career as a Viking.
Yep.
All right.
We love Adam Thielen. And by the way, last game, Adam Thielen had two of the 10 best catches of the year in the same game last week.
Yeah.
He got robbed on that touchdown.
Did he?
Yes.
He got a knee and an elbow in.
I don't get how you can review that, have a whole system in play, and it still doesn't work out.
Absolutely.
I don't understand it.
Jobbed.
All right, well, let's see what the crowd feels about this, because if the rival to the East had beaten the Motor City Kitties last night, your Vikings would have pulled into a tie atop the NFC North, technically behind the Kitties because of the tiebreaker, but nevertheless, they were not able to do that. So let's play from the hearts again. The Vikings not moving into a tie for first place last night, but the Green Bay Packers lost. What does that bring? I don't know.
You won the battle.
I don't know about you today.
You won the battle, but you lost the war.
I don't agree with that one at all, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a cold shower evening. I mean, it was just like kind of a silent evening. Just like, come on. Just beat these guys. They have 5 guys on defense led by something called Pat O'Connor. Nobody has ever heard of in the history of the NFL, and they find a way to win. It was so weird, low-key pulling for the Green Bay Packers last night.
Well, you talk about the 2009 season, and the matter of fact of that season is we didn't end in home field advantage and had to go down to New Orleans when you didn't want to go there. The only place you didn't want to go, and we were clearly the better team.
Yeah.
Getting home field in the playoffs, in a playoff like this, which is pretty top-heavy, a lot of good teams right now, you need to host, and we needed the Packers to come through, and of course they let us down.
Now, what it does do in sneaky fashion is it's really starting to set the table for the Vikings playing against Kirk Cousins twice. And right now, that reality is starting to shape up right now as a real chance that ends up happening.
But what's the reality where off what we've seen with the Atlanta Falcons the last 3 games, and the fact that we ain't being Barney the Purple Dinosaur here. Copyright Dan Cole, the Common Man. I just think it's going to work this way. The Vikings are going to beat the Atlanta Falcons this weekend.
Yeah.
So the Falcons are going to lose 4. Who says the Falcons are going to win a game the rest of the year?
Well, the way they're playing lately, you might be right. And Tampa Bay might be the better team, and they win that division. That is certainly possible. Falcons have the tiebreaker there. They've already beat them twice. Kirk has killed the Buccaneers this year, and then been pretty bad against most of the rest of the league. So you're right. It might be that the Falcons. This is a very, very important game for the Falcons.
Yes.
Way more important for them than it is for the Vikings.
Yes.
Not just because they desperately need a win, because they're 500 right now and in first place in their division.
Right.
They need a win, but they've also got to figure out what they've got in Kirk Cousins. They've got Michael Penix waiting, and by all accounts, he has looked very good in practice. They got to figure this thing out and a win here for them, really, really critical.
Yeah, I get the divisional champ gets to host, but man, that drives me crazy when they're 3 or 4 games worse than potentially the wild card, and you're going to get to host. That nothing drives me more crazy than that when you've earned it during the regular season. But it depends on how bad or how average your division is. And right now, the NFC South is average.
Bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this radio show and this particular day for quite some time. Because one of my dear friends and the co-host of the Friday Football Feast, Paul Charchian, that there was a day, it was a Friday at Mall of America on the 3rd floor, which would be not long after the Vikings lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game. And the Super Bowl 52 is at US Bank Stadium. So we are doing Radio Row shows that week, 3rd floor Mall of America. And lo and behold, at about 11 a.m., an hour to go in the week, and Kirk Cousins sits down at our table. All right, he's walking around Radio Row. He's still with Washington.
Right.
He sits down at our table at Radio Row, not even to chat with us, to sit down and chat with somebody else. We hadn't met him, and from that moment on, this man right here, Paul Charchian, led the championing of the Kirk Cousins to Minnesota bandwagon, facing the slings and arrows of a lot of outrageous negatives, a lot of Cousins-Keenum related conversations. So from that moment through the run, take that, Kirk haters on social media, having some personal pride in identifying somebody who helped the Minnesota Vikings for the most part over 6 years to where we are now, where he might get bludgeoned by Brian Flores' defense this weekend.
He's going to get killed.
How are you handling this entire thing? I've been thinking a lot about you.
Thank you. Sunday's going to be a hard day for me.
I know.
Kirk is sitting on, I think, a very bad game. There's a chance he doesn't finish the game, one way or another. I believe
sitting on a very bad game.
I do believe the Vikings absolutely made the right decision to bring Kirk in. You remember at the time it was Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, or Kirk Cousins. And I think history has proven that Case Keenum is a backup. Teddy Bridgewater was, bottom end starter or high end backup caliber guy. And Kirk Cousins was very good for most of his time here and got better almost every year to the point that we got to last season. And when he went out, he was the league leader in passing yards. And then when we roll into this last offseason, I still wanted Kirk to stay on the right deal. And I didn't want to have to go farming for a replacement. I wanted to hit the draft of the quarterback no matter what.
Which they did.
But I didn't want to have to try to find an adequate bridge guy or replacement.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring Kirk back on a deal that would let us sunset Kirk's career and bring in a rookie. When they signed Sam Darnold, I didn't like it. And by the way, I was not alone, but I did not like it. But that was before Kirk had his outrageous deal that the Falcons had.
We call that FIDA, Fairness and Darnold Act, and that's another reason that I'm bringing this up, so you can talk this entire thing out. I mean, literally, right before the Vikings signed Sam Darnold, my man's on social media, which means there are going to be, as the kids would say, receipts for years on tweets because he's not the type to delete. He'll just deal with it.
And I am dealing with it every day.
It's FIDA, Fairness and Sam Darnold Act. I mean, he's like, no. I mean, are you kidding me with this? Oh, holy cow. Well, it clearly was a bad take. and he clearly has come through for the Minnesota Vikings to lead them to becoming one of the best teams in the NFL. So I'm glad you brought that up because we're going full circle here with the therapeutic Davenport of love.
I appreciate that.
And Sunday's big. Sunday's going to be emotional for you from noon until like 3:15, and I just want to make sure you are squared away okay, more so as a friend.
One last thing, dialing back to last year that I feel is important.
Yeah.
You weren't there this day. It was right after Kirk signed with the Falcons. You happened to have vacation, and I was on with Nordo. And when he signed with the Falcons, that deal, I said, no way would I have matched that. It was too long, and it was too much money. 4 years on a guy his age.
Quite aware.
That was, even I had reached my breaking point with Kirk where I would not have wanted to bring him in. With Sam Darnold, I was wrong. I did not see this coming. I think out of the whole universe of possible outcomes that we talked about with Sam Darnold, we are getting 10 out of 10 out of what could have possibly happened with Sam Darnold, and I'm here for it. I love it. I'm a lifelong Viking fan, and I am delighted with how it's turned out.
Well done.
I'm happy to be wrong.
Help him through this.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for bringing your therapeutic Davenport of love. He'll be using it between segments.
I do feel better. I appreciate that very much.
No problem.
I think when you look at Sam at the start of the season, I think you looked at him as like, can we get to a 500 season? Plus, not knowing any idea what we were going to have. I think we all maybe discredited or didn't look at the value of having KOC, having played the game, having helped guys come through this. And now we get, I was there live on Sunday. It was so fun to be there live. Just watch him dissect those last two drives were incredibly well done.
They were great. Yep.
And it almost looked at it as like, are we holding things back just to see if we can win these games by one possession? Or can we have these drives and use our whole passing game and let Sam go earlier in the game to maybe get a couple touchdown lead and rather have to come from behind in dramatic fashion? But just love to see his poise. He was seeing the field, the protection, put it all together. It was impressive. And, of course, the defense puts a stamp on it. And you just like to see our defenses limiting points. At the end of the day, when you look at all the stats you want to look at, defensively, we're not giving up a lot of touchdowns. We're making them kick field goals if we give up something. And they had drive after drive after drive. They were pretty good. Arizona was pretty good against us. Kyler Murray was pretty good. And at getting field goals, and that was the difference in the game.
It was the difference in the game. Kyler Murray misfiring on some open receivers, especially Marvin Harrison, really, really big. Mm-hmm. He continues to be an inconsistent player. But back to
he made some plays though.
He did, and he always does.
He made some
plays. Back to Sam Darnold. The way this is shaping up, if this continues at this level, Vikings going to have some interesting decisions in the offseason. I didn't think there was any real scenario where we were going to keep Sam Darnold, and Sam's going to be a very hot commodity in this offseason. But there's going to have to be some real thought given to whether or not you want to let Sam Darnold out of the building at the end of this year if he keeps playing at this level, because teams never let somebody this good just walk away with no compensation and no effort to keep it.
I think what you're going to see, though, is when he hits free agency, you're going to see the number go so high that are you willing to go leverage your organization the next 3 years plus when you have a young guy you drafted and you like and believe in? I think that's the thing you're going to have to look at. And again, just like when Kurt goes, what's the deal going to look like? Well, then somebody's going to overpay for a starter because everybody needs not everybody. The majority of teams need good quality quarterback starters that have experience. So you're going to see a team throw him a crazy number that I don't think will match.
That could very well end up being the case because you're back into the Cousins conundrum a little bit,
right?
Where you've got a quarterback making a lot of money and all the implications that go with that. And the way they've set their salary cap in the future was built around the notion that they wouldn't have to pay a quarterback a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so you can't necessarily just go, oh, well, here's $45 million a year, Sam Darnold.
I think the Daniel Jones signing, which, by the way, Paul kind of called a couple of weeks ago, which was also very impressive.
Thank you.
I think that takes some of the pressure off this decision moving forward. Secondly, obviously, there's McCarthy. Thirdly, you can franchise tag Sam Darnold at $38 million and trade him off the franchise.
Yeah.
So you can, we're going to do this. So, hey, you're guaranteed to get this. Yeah, I know it's before taxes, but that still looks like a 2021 piece. Ain't bad. And then we're going to trade you. And that gives
Sam. And the compensation for that, again, is like 2 first-round picks?
For what?
Isn't that the deal? And I could be wrong.
I don't know.
If you franchise a player and
you
then
trade him?
And
Yeah, there's the franchise and the transition tag.
I might be confusing those.
Yeah, I just know that you can franchise players and
then trade them. Yeah,
not quite sure about. Well, you would get whatever
you get in the whatever you negotiate in the trade.
So I mean, I guess I would have to make that favored right now, just slightly favored.
Yeah,
because the Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and the Vikings personnel staff have worked so arduously, eyeballing people like Eric Kendricks and Dalvin Cook and other people, and trading Danielle Hunter and getting Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Blake Cashman for the same amount of money that Danielle Hunter received in Houston. So they've worked so hard to make it so you don't have to look for nickels and dimes between couch cushions and free agency. I mean, I just absolutely can't see them breaking the bank with $120 million deal, for even depending on how far Sam takes them, I guess maybe. But I think you're right. I mean, it does require a lot of thought, but I think there are some outs.
There probably are. Where it would get hairy is the Vikings win in the playoffs.
Yep.
Right? Sam brings you to an NFC championship game, and are you really going to walk away from that?
What's the fan base going to say and look like and feel like when all of a sudden you take that guy, you get rid of him, and he just took you to the promised land and give you on the brink of a Super Bowl or into the Super Bowl? It all kind of determines, I think, in these next 5 weeks of how this plays out. But again, if he gets to free agency at this point, he's going to, unless you franchise him. Yeah. What is that going to look like? And are you looking at JJ and being like, this is the guy, you have this 3-year window before you have to pay this guy, where you can use those dollars, start him, and build around him and win now in these next 3 years if you love him that much? And I think that's the thing we haven't had, because we've had such a big number at quarterback.
Yeah.
We've been looking for this advantage. That's why we keep saying we got to draft a quarterback. You have this window where you don't have to pay him an exorbitant amount of money to build around him and get weapons and get O-line and get stability, get pass rushers, and then you win. And you look at how the Chiefs built their the starting kind of this what now legacy team they have is because they had Mahomes on a rookie deal. They built around him. Now Mahomes got himself to be the best player in the league, and now he wins mostly by himself with some other guys. But they did it and started it because they had a quarterback they drafted that they didn't have to pay a crazy number.
And look at the options that have been created by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and his staff. Is you have something that's working. Forget the 1 in 10. Forget the nobody believed in him. I mean that's all water under the proverbial bridge. It's working. So you have that. And then you have somebody who you believe is going to be really good. You drafted. He happened to get hurt. And then you have a former first-round pick who's been pulled out of a football-related abusive situation.
Yeah,
let's just put him off on the side and just let him graze in the pasture for a little while, run around with the rest of the equine athletes, and redetermine or reestablish who he is as a person and a professional, and then see what we have next year. That's it's when Keenum left, or when they moved past Keenum after the miracle season. You had to give somebody that type of dollar figure in Kirk. You don't have. I mean, they've done such a good job creating flexibility in so many different spots, including the quarterback spot.
Now, if you're Sam Darnold, and if things do go as well as they've been going, if that continues into the postseason,
and they're getting better game by game,
they are. In many ways, they are.
Jacksonville looks like the bottom, and now I think it's an unidentifiable top until he shows us what the top looks like.
So if you're Sam and you've seen life in New York and Carolina and San Francisco, why leave? I mean, if you're Sam and you have finally found the perfect situation, do you make it? Do you give yourself a chance to stay in that situation for, he's still young. What is he, like 25?
Like 27.
27, right? I mean, he's got the better part of a decade, potentially, of good quarterbacking ahead of him.
It feels like he's been around a decade or more. It feels like he's in his 30s, 27.
And I'm guessing he's loving playing for KOC. I'm guessing he's feeling like I can really develop and make and do well here. But it's going to determine how they finish. Because if things fizzle out and he doesn't finish out, it's going to be an easy decision. Right. You're going to move to your rookie and deal with the Daniel Jones situation. So very interesting to see what plays out the next 5 weeks. Obviously, we want to keep winning and getting that game, get in the tournament, see what happens.
Now, Kirk Cousins has thrown 15 pick sixes during his career. All right, he threw one last game for Atlanta, He threw 7 with the Minnesota Vikings, and that's, when you back to you and those who championed the cause for Cousins to play here. 2018, was kind of a disadvantageous situation for him in that the offensive coordinator was new. Didn't even make the entire season,
right?
So therefore, Chad knows better than anybody. When you're new and they ask you to leave during the course of the year, and they're just going to pay you off. Wow,
that's bad.
Probably a situation that they didn't prefer behind the scenes. Stefanski takes over and then obviously becomes head coach of the Cleveland Browns. But Kirk threw 3 pick sixes that year. So Minnesota and a lot of places being habit states. You come out there, you got this money. You're throwing it to Minka Fitzpatrick and P.J. Williams for New Orleans or whomever. And he kind of started behind the proverbial 8 ball here because of that 2018. But it can't be disputed. From 2019 through his last game here at Green Bay last year, he had the best seasons of his career every single year. Yep. 19 was the best. Then 20 was kind of the best. All the way through 23, O'Connell had him 25 and a half games. And they made a lot of offensive memories, man. They put up some big numbers together.
Yeah, the magical 2022 season, which, were it not for a very, very bad defense, I think would have been special for the Vikings in the postseason. And then even last year, when he got knocked out through 8 games, man, it was all starting to come together for the Vikings. The defense had turned really good. Kirk was rolling, as I mentioned earlier, leading passer in the NFL at that point. And last year could have been really something special, too, with Kirk, and it just, unfortunately, it did not end up working out.
Well, he's the kind of leader you want in your organization, is a guy who's going to do things the right way. He's going to say the right things. He's going to be good in the media. He's going to be good in the community. Yeah. And he's a winner. He's putting up numbers. And that's why you always, I think, from your standpoint, is like, what more do you want from this guy?
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of the day, you want to win Super Bowls. You want to win playoff games. And that's what fan bases want. And he did get that playoff win, which was massive. But he wasn't able to do it consistently enough. And we can always argue there's need to be more help. Need to be defensive help. Need to be
more defense.
More stability in the offensive line. More health of the offensive line.
Giants playoff loss. They never punted, and everybody blamed Kirk because of the last throw of the game. They never punted.
In 2019, when he came up cold-blooded, found Thielen on Patrick Robinson. Lattimore got hurt. Robinson hadn't played the entire game. And Robinson comes in for one play, and Stefanski starts salivating. And they throw right at him. Thielen gets it. Then they walk off with Rudolph back left of the end zone.
Yep.
But in fair qualifiers here, because that was, like you said, that was a fair qualifier you just laid out about that Giants game, is when they ran into San Francisco and got trucked. Well, that 49ers team was a Garoppolo overthrow to Emmanuel Sanders, back center of the end zone, from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that's the team you ran into. So there are some qualifiers there.
And that same San Francisco team hammered the Packers in the next game.
Right.
There's the Cousins. We're all going to have. I think we mostly have got fond memories of Cousins' time here. He played well, got better. The time to move on was correctly identified by Kwesi. He pulled the trigger at the right time, and the Vikings have got now a plethora of options going forward.
And now we boo him.
I don't know why you'd boo a guy who was nothing but a class individual and played well for this team. But I know we have people here.
It'll hurt him just a little bit. He'll hear it. He'll act like he didn't, and it will affect him the rest of the game. They don't love me anymore.
Isn't the kind thing to do to recognize your team is better in the current situation, and somebody who gave you a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns is languishing down ATL way? So let's try it again. Vikings win the toss. They choose to defer. The Atlanta Falcons get the ball first. Here comes the Falcons offense. Here comes Alan Roach, the voice of U.S. Bank Stadium, the box of all boxes ever to Vox. Ladies and gentlemen, Atlanta Falcons quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Love you.
What happened to Minnesota Nice?
Love you.
Love it.
This is the Friday football. Oh, Savage, we love you so much, just like this 10-2 football team. And also tip your servers and the bartenders quite well, if at all possible. They've been here for several hours preparing for this jam-packed Friday football feast at Buffalo Wild Wing Savage. Jared Wells guides us from an engineering standpoint. Nick Madden's street team is going to be walking around Buffalo Wild Wing Savage. Jack and Ellie are going to be registering you to win this helmet. So be on the lookout for that. Nordo produces. Mad Producer is at the 651 Carpets Plus studios at FM 100.3 KFAN. For Chad Greenway and Paul Charchian, I'm Paul Allen. When we return, we will analyze the shoe size contest aspect of this game against the Falcons coming up Sunday at noon on KFAN. Thank you very much for coming out today. We'll be right back.
PA and Charge.
Hold on to your butt.
Thank you.
Hey, Buffalo Wild Wing Savage, quickly. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hey. Listen closely. Happy 40th birthday, Phil Myers.
4-0, Phil.
Thanks for coming out to the feast, man. 40.
It's not as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah, either is 50. Either is 5-0 or 5-5 or 5-6. Happy birthday. Thanks for coming out to the feast. Paul Charchian, Paul Allen, PA in Charch, feasting at Buffalo Wild Wing Savage. Chad Greenway by our side. I mentioned into the last pause, the first pause of the radio show, that there is a shoe size contest element to this game this weekend. We've discussed Kirk Cousins, like Cousins doesn't want to come into U.S. Bank Stadium and look bad. Sam Darnold doesn't want Kirk Cousins to come into U.S. Bank Stadium and outshine him, specifically at this time of the season. Well, let's take it a step farther. Raheem Morris, head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, was defensive coordinator for the L.A. Rams that won the Super Bowl. Well, Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator. So Morris doesn't want to roll in here and let O'Connell traipse up and down the field on his defense. O'Connell wants it to be like, I worked that defense in practice every single day in 2021, and I'm about to work it again.
Yep.
Certainly hasn't said that, but metaphorically speaking, or symbolically speaking, perhaps that's what he's thinking. And then you get the Falcons offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson. All right. This is his first big job in the NFL as a coordinator. Well, with those Rams, Robinson was an assistant at many different positions. I think like wide receivers, quarterback, stuff like that, while O'Connell was his boss. So now you have the Tyro wanting to roll in here and upstage the mentor. You have one head coach who used to go against the other head coach in practice all the time, coordinator against defensive coordinator. How about all that, Chad? I mean, that's going to be deeply rooted in the hearts and minds of these individuals. And good morning.
And good morning. I think the one thing you didn't mention, Brian Flores. And you got to deal with him. And I think there's not a lot of familiarity with anybody in this league.
Right.
When it comes down to him diagnosing and understanding how to stop teams and put the brakes on them. And I think that's one thing you have to consider. The other thing when it comes down to this, and we didn't talk about this last segment, but what has made Sam so good is his ability to be upright. His ability to not be sped up. His ability to, we talk about Sam, like we saw this with Kirk. When we're unhealthy at the offensive line, when we have pieces moving in and out, he wasn't nearly as effective as when he's standing up, has time, can find receivers, can look at his third option. Every quarterback is much better when they're not running for their life.
Yeah.
And we're not giving enough credit to the stability and their ability to protect him. And also for KOC and the staff offensively to put him in spots where he has time to throw, roll him out, short pocket, short rollout, throws he can make. So I'm excited for that matchup. I think it's going to be a huge advantage. And I would like them, because of all the things you mentioned with the coaches, I want them to go after them early. I want to be aggressive early. I want to let him take shots early. And let's see if we can put them on the backside early in this game rather than waiting so long.
I said to Nordo yesterday, if O'Connell has Jefferson beats any coverage plays in his back pocket, he's going to use 2 of those 7 in this game. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I think in that first 15, I would like to see him make a statement early, knowing that defensively, if we can get a lead, this defense gets really, really fun. Unless you have a la Chicago, where we got really, really, hey, we're going to go Tampa 2, Leslie Frazier, and sit back and let you dissect us. Right? We don't need to do that. We want to be aggressive. And when this defense pins its ears back and get creative on blitzes or showing blitz and just go back to coverage, they get really good. And you create turnovers.
Chad, who's got the advantage when Kirk was here for Brian Flores. He was here for Kevin O'Connell. Mm-hmm. They know him. Now, Kirk, to some degree, also knows the coaches, but I think seems like to me it's more important that the coaches know Kirk. They know exactly what he's good at, what he's bad at.
Yeah.
They know where the as Paul would say, where the bodies are buried.
Yeah.
Bones are buried,
Thank
right?
You. Less morbid.
Tell me, does that really matter?
Well,
or not.
But see, why I clipped is because I don't think Gilmore's going to play. Not sure, we'll know today. But okay, Kirk's going to look at Shaq Griffin. Well, I don't remember him in practice. It's hard to get back to Bynum and Hitman with what you want to do because the rusher's coming. Well, where's Everson? Where's Daniil? Grenard? These guys, holy, it's so new.
I think what you look at, though, is, let's be honest, Kirk Cousins is a sharp guy. He is like a head coach. He's seen so much. He feels so much. He's seen every defense. He's seen every look. He's seen the Flores defense. He's the only one that has familiarity with Flores' defense and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And he's smart enough to be able to diagnose. But the issue is going to be you have to go play. And those guys in front of him have to block. And those guys in front of him have to keep our rushers out. And I think what you mentioned, Grenard is going to be, he's sitting on a huge game, in my opinion, because I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity. And sometimes when you think you know a lot, sometimes you know too much. And you see things that aren't there. And you start seeing ghosts. And all of a sudden, what's real isn't real, and Harry's dropping back out. And can he react when he's under pressure? And again, it's going to come down to which offensive line can hold up, who can develop a little bit of a running game. That's going to be the factor in this game. And this is a game we need to go win this game and not play to hold on and win the second half. There's too much of that in my opinion. It's like, let's go put our foot down early and be aggressive in our first 15. Even if it doesn't work out in drive 1, stay on the gas pedal.
And by the way, that's why nationally the Vikings are not thought of as real contenders, is because they're eking out too many victories.
Okay, let's talk Chiefs then. I heard this talking point. I heard this talking point yesterday.
But they got the trophies.
Yeah, they
can beat you by 50 or beat you by. Charch has something in the Tolstoy where their plus 54 is the lowest points differential of any 11-1 team in the history of the National Football League.
Yep.
They don't care. Well, actually, they do, because Mahomes, after the Carolina game, came out kind of like paraphrasing. Enough of this. We got to start putting the pedal to the metal. But what are the common threads here between the Chiefs and the Detroit Lions? Is they both are pushing a button where they have that metaphorical button where we can turn it on when we have to. Not everybody has it. And they're overcoming massive injuries. Massive for both teams. Now, Pacheco just came back, right?
He did.
Okay. Well,
looked good, too.
For the Lions, you got David Long, the second, junior, senior, whatever. You got Pat O'Connor. Sounds like a producer for FanDuel Sports North, who works our preseason games. The Vikings are in a different situation, like in 2022, these games are super close and super exciting like 2022. What's the difference? In 2022, when they lost, they had their aortas handed to them at midfield after the game.
Yeah.
They got killed.
Yeah. Dallas.
Yeah, Philly. It's different now,
It is. The Vikings are not getting obliterated in any games, which is nice. Just back to Kirk for a second. The two things where Kirk's really different now, and it might be the Achilles or not, he was never mobile, but Kirk could buy half a beat by sliding and making a couple of steps in the pocket. He could buy a half beat, and that could be a difference. This version of Kirk cannot do that. Kirk, this version of Kirk post Achilles, almost totally immobile. And the other part is the arm strength is noticeably down.
Wow.
And so if what a lot of teams are doing against the Vikings are a lot of first read, fast delivered passes.
Yep.
Kirk's going to make his first reads. The ball ain't getting there fast anymore. And there might be some opportunities to jump some of those quick plays that they're going to try to get. Van Ginkel style.
I've been thinking about it all week.
Yep, Van Ginkel style. because they don't want Kirk sitting in the pocket long. They don't want him absorbing hits and having to deal with the pressure the Vikings can bring and the blitzes. They're going to want to get that ball out fast.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the arm to deliver the lasers anymore.
Last 30 seconds, you get it all.
One thing I looked at last week in that Cardinals game was when they brought at least 2 extra rushers and they brought the house, we struggled to pick that up. We struggled, first of all, to recognize it as the quarterback or the offensive line, struggled to recognize their intent on the down and distance and what they're going to come with, and they got us at least 3 times in downs where you got to have it.
Yeah.
You're going to see that. You're going to have to figure out how to remedy that and pick it up and have an option. And that's not ability. That's recognition. And that's understanding. And Sam has to pick that up. He's got to be a little more patient on those down and distances to see it. And and the receivers have to see what he sees if it happens like that. And those receivers have to adjust on the fly when their guy leaves and sends the extra rusher. They got to show. And he's got to have an option for them. The problem is they recognize it too late. He gets hit in the back of the head, and the receivers are running down the field. It's lack of recognition by the receiver, quarterback tandem. When that guy disappears, what do you go to the blitz option? Because we can't pick them all up. And that's something I looked at last weekend that was scary to you because you have to have an option for it. And you're gonna once the coach sees that, you know what's coming.
Now, we can't close without a brief down memory lane we go. We do it every week with Chad. And his very first regular season game was against the Atlanta Falcons.
Joey Harrington, though.
And what was most significant from that game? You got the W, Metrodome, first game 2007. What do you remember?
I remember my first tackle. Remember Adrian's first start. Adrian came together the first time.
Keep going, Adrian. A rare touchdown reception. And he ran away from Jamal Anderson.
His last catch of the year.
First and last.
I was wondering, like, all those muscles working together. He's like trying to, it's like a robot. It's like you watch the new Tesla robot try to catch a football. That was Adrian, just like, can't figure this thing out.
All right, it's a home game. I know Grey Ducks well represented at U.S. Bank Stadium. What else is going on with the product?
Yeah, 300 level, go to the Grey Duck Bar. We're up there, man. Go check it out. It's awesome. It's a great setup. Our seltzer now being sold at Williams Arena on the Minnesota campus, which is obviously fun. We were there at Huntington Bank to be a part of that run that the Gophers football team had. So our relationship with Minnesota keeps getting stronger. And as this Hawkeyes, our relationship with the Gophers is getting stronger, too. And they're Dinkytown athletes. For some reason, this Hawkeye is helping the Gopher Athletics make more money and raise more money. So every time you go buy one of our products, you're supporting your Gophers, your Gopher Athletics, against my will, but we had to make the decision.
and expect to see Grey Duck Bourbon in Lexington, Kentucky very soon.
Very soon, Old Red.
Supporting the Wildcats.
That's right. I think they do this here. I'm not sure, but it's new. It's new.
Chad Greenway, ladies and gentlemen, having a round of applause. One of the great defensive players in the history of Minnesota Vikings football. The Fantasy Feast portion of the equation is next from Buffalo Wild Wings Savage. You're listening to KFAN.
What are you trying to insinuate?
You homer! Welcome back. Friday football at Buffalo Wild Wings Savage. Thank you for that. Paul Charchian, Paul Allen, and the Fantasy Feast portion of the equation at 9:55. Good morning. Let's begin outside of the covenant. With a C.J. Stroud. And we discussed this a little bit in the past. I mean, C.J. Stroud, the Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, ballyhooed. But we talked about him a little earlier in the season where he just never has games with more than one touchdown.
Yeah.
He never runs in touchdowns. So this would be, I'm guillotine league raised, and I prefer guillotine league. So when I say leagues are down to the Final Four, well, this is nut cutting time to get that chip, as the kids would say, to win that prize. And so therefore, the players you hold on to for certain situations, well, that can be pivotal to the future wherewithal of said Gee. So ain't no reason for C.J. Stroud to be on the team, right?
Well, it's certainly not a guillotine league, but even standard formats, regular leagues, redraft leagues, I'm dropping C.J. Stroud outright, Paul. He's on bye this week. After that, it's a tricky game against a sneaky good Miami pass defense. Then it's a non-sneaky good Kansas City defense. And then after that, we're already week 17 now, championship week. I'm not starting him in championship week against Baltimore. So I don't think there's a spot left. So, and it's not just like spike drop C.J. Stroud, but, Paul, who do you pick up? Well, how about a high-value backup runner who could be special if the starter goes down? Zach Charbonnet may be a starter this week because Kenneth Walker may not play.
Right.
Or Blake Corum for the Rams if anything were to happen there. I would find a high-value guy or just another quarterback that gives you more upside, including, Paul...
Darnold.
Well, Darnold's already taken, I think, in most leagues.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Because Sam may be sitting on a 3, 4, or 5 touchdown game in this bad boy.
I like him a lot this week.
What quarterback are you talking about?
You could drop C.J. Stroud for another sophomore quarterback who's played better for the last month.
Oh, Bryce, you're going to...
Bryce Young. Look, I am. Yeah. He has been better in the last month than C.J. Stroud has been. What Dave Canales has done with him has been nothing short of amazing. Canales establishing himself as almost a Kevin O'Connell level quarterback whisperer. And he is Bryce Young right now playing great ball, and the return of Adam Thielen has energized that offense in the last 2 games.
And wasn't Deontay Johnson there and they traded him?
They traded him away.
Well,
now look how that's turned out.
See what I'm saying? It's like Nordo and I discussed this, I think, last week. Isn't it early in the week this week? You know, with all of the exuberance and excitement and the fun that the kids are having with the Buffalo Bills. Isn't it interesting what that looks like? Minus Diggs and minus Gabe Davis. I'm not Gabe's catching a stray from me here, but
he deserves to, honestly.
But he's gone too. You know what I'm saying? So like Diggs going to Diggs for dough, Gabe Davis for show, but they both are gone. Team's better and they're having fun. And kind of like what you just mentioned there with Bryce Young. You know, it's certainly not pinning it all on Deontay Johnson, but they trade him, and now all of a sudden he's getting fined and suspended or fined or both. With Baltimore, he refused to play
by his own team.
Yeah, he refused to go into a game.
What happened was last week, Rashad Bateman got knocked out with injury, and they still didn't use Deontay Johnson.
Yeah,
and so he got pissy about it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
We more from the fantasy feast standpoint up to Vikes Bites about 10:17. We're going to get caught up here at Buffalo Wild Wings Savage. You're listening to KFAN.